Hello, my incisive friends, and welcome back to Alien Protocols. We're going to dive into some wild speculation again in this episode, but based on some tangible physical evidence that we can actually examine. And that, of course, is a rarity. This is a little bit more um, amorphous kind of evidence. But in numerous UFO cases throughout history, there have been very prominent symbols on the craft. And I just wanted to dive into some of these symbols and explore possibilities. Of course, we've spoken about the Atsuro Bune Japanese craft. I believe it was 1809. And the craft itself was fascinating. The unusual woman inside, incredibly fascinating. The box she held, incredibly fascinating. And so are the symbols. When you look at these symbols, to me, they really remind me very much of when I was a kid and kind of invented my own math because of my Asperger's. I had a series of circles and dots, and that was my way of doing basic math. Uh, and my dots and circles, it became its own little language. And it had other aspects to it, but it was a very condensed way of reproducing mathematical necessities. And whatever intelligent species evolves to technology, they must have language. They must have modes of communication that can be passed on aside from digitally. Language, symbols, pictograms. And you can see really clearly that these pictograms are very, especially these Otsubune pictograms on the craft, are very, very interesting. Let's look carefully at this top one, the pyramid with the circle embedded in the left side. Very primary shaped, very simple, very, very interesting. Now, if you compare it with the one on the bottom, it has that same circle, but then an additional one on the other side. This can be as simple as a 1 and then a 2. This can also be as simple as a beginning and an end. This can also represent 3 spatial dimensions. It's important to think about all these different possibilities here. Now look at the second symbol. The second symbol with the 3 lines bisected with another line, and then the middle line has that little turn up. That's very interesting. It could almost be 3 planets. The top small one could be Mars, the middle one could be Earth, and the next one could be Jupiter or Saturn. And the middle one, ours, with the little turn up, could be our moon. This could also be another solar system. But what I found interesting about this second image is it could fit in the first image and or represent the first image additionally. The upturn could be the circle. Now, also, when I look at the number 2 image, the second from the top, and the third from the top, I get a bunch of neat little notions. One is that if you looked at the number 3 symbol there, the 2 circles and the X in the middle, if you looked at that from the right or left side, changing your dimensional perspective, it could look like number 2. Those circles don't have to be spheres, they can be flat, two-dimensional circles. So if you saw number 3 from the side, those circles would look flat and a little fat, kind of like they do it in number 2. But also revealed underneath is levels we couldn't see from above, from the number 3 image. In the number 2 image, because we're looking from the side, we can see some details hidden by the structures in number 3 when looking down. So I thought that was interesting. Also, I thought number 3 and number 4 could be the same thing viewed from above. Number 3 would be number 4 viewed from above, but it requires a very specific position in order to do that. Because the circles are at the very ends, you would have to be almost right above the center tip of the bottom triangle to view that number 4 image and have it look like number 3 from above. You'd have to be very close to the top of the pyramid. These also can be very simple number systems. This can be a date. It can be a lot of different things. It's really fascinating if you ask me. Now, in the Rendlesham case, there is also a circle with a triangle on the inside and a triangle with circles on it, which is very super interesting, right? And those Rendlesham symbols are very close to alchemical symbols, although I don't give that correlation, a lot of weight. But let's look at some of these other symbols. Remember the Nuremberg woodcut with the beings and everyone fighting in the sky? Look at all these crosses, and the crosses with circles at the end. I found that a little interesting. Crosses are mentioned many times in UFO history. Also, let's look at the Lonnie Zamora case. There was a very specific symbol on the craft he saw. Does that have any meaning? These images, these pictograms, these symbols can be a wide variety of things. They can state what the craft is, who manufactured it, where it's from. Any and all of these are very possible. What do you guys think?